That is probably the most active my chat has ever been before a show actually goes live. So thanks everyone. I just really quite enjoyed it. Cheers. Our top story today is going to be about R-Truth, because as you might expect, there's a lot of R-Truth to talk about. But welcome, this is Tom Colohue, hosting Spoiler Warning as always, and we are going to be diving into the wonderful world of pro wrestling and the insanity therein. I can already see so many of you sharing news and sharing facts and sharing what's going on, and I appreciate all of you for it. We have a few things to cover tonight. It won't be our most jam-packed, I'll tell you that. We have a lot of information as regards R-Truth and his new deal, more on Worlds Collide, as well as a Money in the Bank review and where our storylines are heading next. Before I jump into the R-Truth situation though, just please be aware, a lot of this information came out easily. It does feel like a lot of people wanted to talk about R-Truth, and a lot of people wanted to get their version of events out. So I do have some suspicions that some of the information that's out already has been intentionally fed. With this in mind, let's dive into what I've been able to find out and what's going on with R-Truth. Now, first and foremost, R-Truth was never fired. He was told his contract was not going to be renewed, and even up until Money in the Bank, his contract was still running. So at no point was he fired or released. Anyone saying, oh, he was fired, it was a work, it wasn't, because he wasn't fired. He has, however, in the days before Money in the Bank, signed a brand new deal. He was fired by Nick Khan. He was not fired by Triple H. Any rumours that Triple H individually ensured his firing are simply inaccurate. He was also rehired by Nick Khan. Triple H no longer holds the purse strings, as I've been reporting here for a while now. He cannot fire or hire anyone without Nick Khan's approval. Everything has to go through Nick Khan. There are a number of people who spoke up in defence of Triple H. For the side of Ron Killings, R-Truth himself, he has stated that it is the fans who got things changed, who convinced Triple H and Nick Khan to give him that other chance. However, there's actually a number of other people that need to be thanked when it comes to Nick Khan. John Cena has been stepping up in defence of R-Truth for several weeks now, including getting him on the card for Saturday Night Main Event. But in addition to that, this is one of the first times in which Triple H has personally appealed to Nick Khan to bring someone back. One of the only other times that has happened was with Samoa Joe way back when. He was able to convince very easily with people like Dakota Kai and Karrion Kross. That was a different era, but Samoa Joe under NXT was a very different situation, and so is R-Truth. When individuals all across backstage in the company did the same, stepping up in defense of R-Truth, Nick Khan is said to have personally apologized to R-Truth for not recognizing what he could bring to the company. I have some details on the new deal that haven't been shared as of yet. The new deal does involve certain limited dates, but nothing really more than he was already taking when WWE weren't using him. There is also a strong push that's been described as notable. Now, obviously, notable could mean a lot of things. It probably does mean a lot of things. I do not expect R-Truth to be carrying top championships here. I do not expect the return of the 24/7 championship. But a notable push is certainly much more than he was getting. Truth was never technically unemployed. His previous deal did not expire before he signed the new one, which I'm told is for a period of 3 years or less. Both sides are said to have opt-out clauses at periodic intervals that allow them to break the deal if it isn't working for them. It has been pitched as something of a Legends deal, but it is not a Legends deal. Legends deals do not contain end clauses and do not contain break clauses. They are essentially your WWE for life, whether you like it or not, and can only really apply to people whose careers are over. There is a rumour that a significant TKO shareholder made their opinion known as regards the release of R-Truth. I haven't been told a name, but I think it's pretty clear who that individual was hinting at. Thankfully, there's only one source on that one. R-Truth was originally told that his contract would not be renewed after he turned down a previous offer that was substantially lower than the current new deal is for. The new deal financially maintains the status quo, essentially keeping him at the level that he currently is financially, but it does offer more time off. There are a number of people backstage in WWE who aren't happy with the deal. However, I would be confident to say that they will get past it. As an example, Carlito, he has not had his contract renewed, and he had quite a few friends backstage. So there's a few people upset about that. Shinsuke Nakamura had also been told that his contract was going to be expiring. He has not been renewed, and a number of people are upset that R-Truth has been essentially given special treatment. For Truth's own point, he's been thanking the fans, and Triple H continues with his artistic no comments at the press conferences after shows, which, as we already know, add nothing to anything. So, to recap, R-Truth was never technically unemployed. He was still under contract when he signed a new deal before Money in the Bank. Nick Khan was convinced by people such as Triple H and John Cena to bring R-Truth back for a considerable amount of time, but there are break clauses in that 3-year deal. He's been promised a notable push and more time off, and there are some individuals who are not happy that he's been given what is essentially special treatment. I'm going to now go into the chat. Firstly, I want to say thank you to 20% Cooler, who's continually hitting like on TikTok. Thank you kindly for getting that like going. I'm going to catch up and read as much of the chat as I can. Please be aware there is a proper storm happening right now, so I do not fully trust the internet, but here we go. Liam is saying that Nikki Bella is advertised to deliver a special message tonight. She is indeed. I'm excited to see her back and see what they're planning to do with her. I'd imagine we're going to see her wrestle once again at Evolution, just not against Nikki Bella. Ethan Hill, been a little while, mate. Good to see you. Became number 4th member of the fan club and sent a heart. Thank you very kindly, Ethan. Good to see you back in the fold, mate. It's been a little while, as I say, and it's nice to know you're okay. Dylan says, was Truth's release a work or did they rehire him? It was not a work. He was never actually released, though. Paul says, all WWE did was release R-Truth and bring the same guy back with a new character. Essentially, yes. Roy says, is it true WWE is interested in signing TNA's Mike Santana? It's not something I've personally heard, though I do know that Mike Santana has a lot of interest in him. So it says, were you happy with the Money in the Bank men's and women's Money in the Bank winners? Yes, by and large, I am. I think they can do very good things with them. We will be discussing the individual information about that during the Money in the Bank review later in the show. We also have 38 likes right now, more than 100 people here. 2 more gets us to 40. Let's get those likes up. It has been, Ethan. Been very good, thank you, mate. Good to see you. Liam says, as regards what's happening tonight on Raw, King and Queen of the Ring qualifying matches are announced. Rhea Ripley versus Liv Morgan versus Roxanne Perez versus Kairi Sane. And Dominic Mysterio versus Sami Zayn versus Braun Breaker versus Penta. Interesting that we're basically eliminating 3 people from contention immediately. Pardon me. Lon says, I miss when the Money in the Bank match was an attraction at WrestleMania. That, unfortunately, was quite a long time ago. Quite a long time ago. But, I mean, it was definitely an entertaining time. The individual show still has its good moments, but building a show around a particular match type doesn't really work for me. Steve says, isn't he Ron Killings? There is a rumour that he has asked for his name back. I've not personally been able to confirm that. Doesn't mean it's not true, just means I haven't personally been able to confirm it. Liam, bringing news from Fightful Select, says one veteran speaking on the R-Truth situation stated they could tell that Triple H doesn't like the fans hijacking creative. To be fair, I don't think he has any choice, given that Triple H himself has said that they listen and encourage them to essentially hijack things. What I will say, though, John Cena, with his You Can't Handle the Truth on SmackDown, was already aware that R-Truth had signed a new deal at that point. He knew what he was doing. Welcome, Calvin. Bailey says, according to WrestleTalk, AEW has distributed 16,079 tickets for the event so far, for all in. Capacity is 40,300. To be clear, I could not sell 16,079 tickets, so I ain't going to sit here and say anyone's doing badly for doing so. Abs thinks Triple H is working himself out of a job. Liam says, per PWInsider, WWE is expected to give Jade Cargill a big push heading into Evolution 2 PL Lead Atlanta, Georgia. Matter says, g'day. G'day, Matter. Dylan says, do you see Jay losing tonight? Do you also see Seth cashing in and Roman returning tonight? I see one of those things happening. Ray says, who do you want to win King and Queen of the Ring? I'll need to know who's in it first. Liam says, per Corey Hayes, LA Knight is expected to feud with Seth Rollins heading into Night of Champions. Abs says, why did Triple H lie to the fans? In what way did he lie, Abs? Give me more information on that before I can answer it. Aaron says, thanks for confirming that about SmackDown. Same deal as teaser for CM Punk. I'm not sure what you're asking there, Aaron. Could you clarify that for me? Mike says, what are your early thoughts on the main event for Evolution? Well, I don't know what it is. So my early thoughts are, who knows? Dylan says, I think Seth is cashing in to make it a triple threat. Roman returns, costing the match. Jay wins by pinning Seth. Welcome, Michael. Good to see you. Abs, R-Truth wasn't let go. R-Truth was not let go. He was told his contract would not be renewed. His contract had not expired. He wasn't let go. Oh, okay, Aaron. Okay. I get what you're saying now. Liam says, per Fightful, there was a lot of praise backstage for Mr. Iguana's performance at Worlds Collide. One NXT source says they'll be pushing for Iguana to make appearances. I have more on that later. That's right, Ken. Noob says, hello, Mr. Colohue. How are you doing today? Wasn't at work because everyone keeps pointing the finger of blame at Triple H like they think he's Vince McMahon. Wasn't at work. Didn't happen. Liam says, fun fact, Jacob Fatu wasn't in WWE when those Theory Waller split teasers started. Dude showed up, teamed with Solo, won the US title, turned on Solo, all before Theory even turned face. Anthony says, I hope you're doing well on this amazing Monday and have an amazing new week. Bit wet outside, but ultimately still having a great time. Thank you for the kind words there, Anthony. Kelly says, happy Raw Day, Tom. Hope you have a wonderful weekend. So happy Truth is back. Welcome, Kelly. And Dad says, when do you see Seth cashing in? Personally, I think tonight's the night. I really do. No, Abs. Nick Khan didn't re-sign him. He signed him to a new deal while his current deal was active. He wasn't released. Ethan says, who do you see winning both fatal four-way matches? Difficult, because I've only just seen them. But I'll have a think on that one. Hector says, Finn Balor might not have been a part of the wrestling weekend, but his wife Veronica Rodriguez was a part of the Worlds Collide broadcast team and interviewed Stephanie Vaquer in ring following her tag win. I saw a lot of people get very excited by that. Very excited by it. Liam says, again per Fightful, R-Truth ignored multiple attempts by WWE throughout the week to reconnect, despite the company's efforts to remain silent until Nick Khan personally reached out. Michael says, notable means having title matches against the Bloodline and losing. I mean, that's still a lot more than he's getting right now. Bad says, what's next for Alexa? We have covered that. She will now be moving into a bigger feud. Bigger stories. Because she's had a time off and WWE want to use her now. Davey says, hello everyone. Hey Tom, I hope you're doing well. Doing very well, thank you. And I hope you are too. Fiend says, Vince better not be trying to come back. He is not. Eric says, any chance we can get Carlito back too? If you kick up enough of a fuss about it on social media, apparently, yes. Yes, Abs. WWE told R-Truth his contract was not getting renewed. Ethan says, do you see Goldberg coming back? I hope not. I hope not. Bob John says, what's Cena's plan for tonight? Well, I'd imagine he's going to be a little pissed off at R-Truth. Yes, Abs. He was leaving, and then he did not leave. Aaron says, men's Money in the Bank match. Awesome. Men are killing it right now. Bob John says, I see Cody and Sammy, the final two in King of the Ring. That is some big names. But after all, it does get us a championship match at SummerSlam, so I ain't going to be upset by it. Yeah, Ken says, yes, they may have had friends, but not to the level of R-Truth, I would guess. Apparently not. Tony says, is Alexa still going to join the Wyatt Six? Depends what you mean by join. There is going to be storylines involving them, but it's not kicked off just yet. Cecil, the record's like 256. We ain't hitting that. That was when Vince was fired. Unique Unicorn says, howdy Tom, hope you are well. I'm very well, thank you, and I hope you are as well. Thank you for all the comments recently. You can see people saying chat rate, thank you very kindly for that. Declan says, any news on Becky Lynch? She's now a champion, which is good news. Hey Joey, good to see you. Sean says, according to PWInsider, Jade Cargill is supposed to get a huge push going into Evolution. We always see these and they never happen, so we will see what happens. Eric says, any idea on what you think Liv does for Evolution? I'd imagine some sort of tag team match. Hector says this may set a bad precedent. If fan support is big enough, it can force WWE's hand to re-sign people they didn't intend to re-sign. I feel no way about R-Truth is a jobber for the most part. Joey says, why did R-Truth want a name change? Again, I've not personally been able to confirm that. Doesn't mean it's not true. It just means I've not been able to confirm it. Bailey says, interesting that wrestlers push for more time off when most now appear just once a week, if that. Nothing like the days we're on the road 5 days a week. Yeah, most of them still remember those days, though. Fiend, I have an opinion on Seth Cash-In, not details. Joey says, do you know which wrestlers from AAA WWE wants to sign after Worlds Collide? I have a report on that coming. And Marcel says, I see tonight Seth tries to cash in, Roman stops him and saves Jay. Funnily enough, a lot of people thought Roman was going to be back not last night, night before. At Money in the Bank. They thought he was going to be back at Money in the Bank. I never really thought that. Chris says Carlito didn't really do much since he was re-signed, as he was just background in LWO and Judgment Day. Kai says fans and John Cena get what they want. I don't get what I wanted. R-Truth released. He's too old. Joey says, do you think LA Knight will move to Raw? I feel like he really needs a change of scenery. I do very much believe he needs a change of scenery, yes. I don't know if Raw's necessarily going to be that quick a move, but I definitely think he needs something new. Anthony says, what do you think Mariah May's names will be in WWE? Again, I have no information on that. Hopefully Mariah May. Kevin hates tournaments. Irish Neeps is my guy Tom and he's watching the pig. Welcome, Irish. Declan says, how long do you see Becky holding the IC Women's title for? Until WrestleMania, where I personally expect she will be feuding with Stephanie Vaquer. Thank you very kindly, Ed, for popping over and being very generous with it. Bob John says, will there be an Evolution 2 watch along? Yes, there is. Aaron, reported where? Who is reporting that one? New user says, watch the iguana, which I respect as well. For those unaware of what's about to happen, every pound, every dollar, every 5 gifts on TikTok results in a squat. Thank you kindly, Ed, for those gifts and for keeping the show ticking along quite nicely. Sean says, per Corey Hayes, LA Knight is set to feud with Seth going into Night of Champions. Sean says, I don't trust Corey. He was one of them on SRS's tweet calling you out. Let him. Let him. Doesn't matter to me. Rocky says, did you not think Alexa's current character is weaker than her goddess character? No, I think she's happy and that's all that matters. Danelle says, when is Roman coming back? In the build to... no, not WrestleMania. In the build to SummerSlam. He's going to have a big match at SummerSlam, I expect. Paul says, Tegan Nox has had severe lack of booking since WWE release. Yeah, unfortunately, her injury record is not helping her. Mike says, is Bayley really injured? No. Wrestling Travel? I've never heard them report anything there, Aaron. No record to speak of. I suppose this might be the start of one. Kevin says, I remember Michael Cole saying Money in the Bank's pay-per-view we sold out, but we saw a lot of empty seats from the beginning. Yeah, but to be fair, there was a lot of protest going on outside, so a lot could have been happening. Ashley said at the press conference, when a reporter asked about R-Truth, Triple H said, you like the show? It's part of the show. Yes, as always, the press conferences are utter garbage. Kevin says, watch the iguana, which you know what? I could do that. I could enjoy that. It'd be fun. Brad says, thoughts on Mr. Iguana? Very entertaining. I quite enjoyed it. Dylan says, do you see Goldberg returning tonight? I don't know. I don't want it. I just don't want it. Joey says, does WWE see Iguana as a big merch seller with the puppets? Yes, they do. No, Declan, unfortunately, no cherry cokes, just juice today. And Paul. Joey says, did John Cena play a role in Truth getting a new deal? Yes, he did. Thank you for sourcing Everton on that one. Sean says, Alexa said in an interview after Money in the Bank she'll probably go after Naomi next since she has the briefcase. Joey says, is WWE bringing Nikki Bella back for Evolution? That seems to be the case given when she's returned. What's up, KJ? Good to see you. Bad says, Alexa didn't even get any titles 7 years ago. Reason why? Some spooky character. No, reason was that unfortunately she had a significant history of concussion. And pretty much from 2018 onwards, they weren't really confident about having her wrestle. So they found ways around it and to limit her time. I want to say, Tom, Dave Meltzer reported Warner Bros. Discovery is split into two companies which can affect AEW. Do you have any news on this? Yes, it will not affect AEW in any way, shape or form. That's all, really. Cecil says, Tom, I believe and I think Sammy needs a win tonight. Bad. Anthony says, do you think Mariah May will keep her name? There are reports that she's changing it. I personally would think that's a bad idea. Fiend says, I don't see Roman coming back until closer to SummerSlam. One says, even though Cora Jade is open to returning to AEW, also stated on Ariel Helwani's show that WWE is still her dream job should TK bring her back. Fans have not exactly pushed for it. Bob John says, do you think we'll see a Truth versus Mr. Iguana match? I need to see Truth interact with the toy. I mean, bring back Al Snow. What does everybody want? Iguanas? No, absolutely it's iguanas. Ray says, what do you think was the best match at Money in the Bank? Probably the men's ladder match, though I do think the Intercontinental Championship match was pretty damn good. Tempo was great. Ishii says, hello Tom, hope you're okay. Doing well, thank you. Welcome, mate. Ken says, it's not only fan backlash though, it's also keeping your roster happy too, and if Truth is beloved there you go. Joey says, do you think Stephanie Vaca will get pushed into the title scene right away, or will it be a slow burn? I think she'll work her way up to it, so that her first championship match on main roster is against Becky. I appreciate that, Ken, but 500 would kill me. You would get a video on it over the course of several days. Sean says that whichever one would quit wanting the goddess back, Alexa has moved on from it and she is happy now. She is. The WWE has moved on. The goddess would not work in the current environment. Be too dominant. Hector says, according to Mike Johnson and PWInsider, the AAA creative team going forward will reportedly be a combination of Jeremy Borash, Conan, and Moody Jack Melendez. Ray says, I'm more of a fan of AW and TNA than WWE at the moment. Fair play. Calvin, no news. No news at all. Joey, I still haven't seen it. Still haven't seen it. And I'm okay with it. Unique Unicorn says, I'd love if Naomi cashed in on Tiffany and Jade wins Queen of the Ring, SummerSlam Jade versus Naomi for the title. I did say, though I will be talking about it later. Ken says, do you see Cena becoming a board member after he hangs up the jorts? No, he's not a rock guy. Michael says, BJ Bethel has just reported and on the Warner Bros. Discovery split is very unlikely to affect AEW. And that is accurate. Very unlikely. Dylan says, do you see Cena having a match with Cody at Night of Champions or SummerSlam? SummerSlam. That's when I expect it to be happening. Fiend says, what are your thoughts on my opinion of Cena? Should drop the title at Night of Champions to Cody. No, way too early. Way too early. There's a lot more he can do with this. Yeah, I'm told it happened, Joey. I don't really care. Michael says, don't you love how fans go from we don't want Truth to have a title match, he's too old, to we want Truth, that got him rehired. Yeah, and now that he's been rehired, watch what happens. Watch what happens now that he's been rehired. Ryan Armstrong says, besides Nikki Bella, who would you want to see at Evolution 2? This is a difficult one because there are some big names. I want Charlotte back in the ring. It's been far too long. I want Io Sky to have a wrestling match. I want Bianca Belair involved. There's a lot of bodies to do. Sean says, I was a bit scared that Julia has turned face on SmackDown when she held Zelina against Piper. Thank goodness she attacked Zelina afterwards. Give Julia the title. I suspect that may be the plan. Michael says they'll go back to saying he's too old. Dylan says, Daniel Bryan was right. The fans are fickle, and I don't disagree. Bob John says Cody versus Sammy, King of the Ring final. Sammy loses the Rumble 26 in Saudi. Sammy wins and Saudi fans are happy. Aaron has no respect for Conan after all he said about Bray Wyatt. Bob John says, do you think there's a chance Punk interrupts Cena's match, which builds to a Night of Champions match? Not impossible, though as I'll say again, Cena's very much running out of dates now. Mike said, what does Punk do at SummerSlam? Not sure. I don't think there's really an obvious option here. Particularly, I do think we're likely to see a Punk versus Bron Breakker proper feud. That seems to be the most fun for me. Oh, where were we? Christopher says, who do you think wins tonight's Fatal 4-Way for the Queen of the Ring between Rhea Ripley, Liv Morgan, Roxanne Perez and Kairi Sane on Raw? Of that group, it'd be nearly impossible to bet against Rhea Ripley. Liv Morgan seems to have another story. Kairi Sane seems to have another story. So for me, it's either Rhea or Roxanne. Rhea for me. No, Billy, I didn't see that. Oh, that would have been funny. Bailey says, when do we see the arrival of the second El Grande Americano to tag with Chad Gable? I don't see an arrival of a second. And he doesn't need one to tag with Chad Gable, to be fair. Calvin says, I know it seemed negative today, but it's really annoying how LA Knight, Karrion Kross, Drew McIntyre, Carmelo Hayes and Austin Theory being treated. Drew McIntyre? Where's Drew McIntyre come from? He's having a great time. Daniel says, hey everyone, happy Monday. Cecil, Legends deal. Ishii says, do you think we could get Karrion if we speak up? Yes. And this is why, when people say in here, Karrion's so over, why isn't WWE signing him to a new deal? Because he's not that over. He's really not. Fiend says, I want to see Trish, Lita and other female legends. I do feel we see all of them and none of many others. Valencia says, hi Tom. Hello Valencia. Ken says, if WWE is taking over AAA, they really should make the shows seeable. I mean, they clearly have a hand in creative already. Yes, but they don't own the company yet, so they can't. They have to negotiate syndication somewhere if they want to make that happen. Calvin, probably. MVP said a lot of things about a lot of people. Hector says, Dom posted a pic on X of him visiting Eddie's grave with the IC title laying near his grave. It's good to see Dom showing so much love for his real dad. I actually really like, and I know like that's a joke and it's comedic and that's what he's doing as well, but I love that he plays along with the joke. It's so respectful of a legacy that refuses to die for a damn good reason. Ken says, hey Tom, what do you think the chances are that we get Alexa versus Stratus at Evolution? Both women really want to have that match. They've wanted that match for a long time. Sean says, do you see Punk versus Seth at SummerSlam? That could be exciting. I'd be down for that. Dylan says, this may not end up happening, but I think the night one main event of SummerSlam is Punk, Roman, Sammy and Seth, Bronson, Braun. I mean, we do have 2 nights. Could be a lot of fun and well worth considering that we could still move into a Cody versus Cena or a Punk versus Cena double nighter. We've got plenty of options there. Tony says, who'll become Alexa's next opponent? Will she ever again play a heel character? We're going to find out shortly, and as regards a heel character, I can't really answer that because forever is a very long time. Bob John says, I swear Cena has less than 20 appearances left. There's 6 months left. He won't have dates. Some of them do, Aaron, but it's the same both ways. Thank you very kindly, McCade. Welcome to the show. Appreciate the heart. Very nice of you. Please don't kill me. You fill me with fear nowadays. Christopher thinks Roxanne Perez will win. Declan says, I'm still thinking Becky might go after the United States Women's Championship. It's not on the same brand she is. Ray says, who has the best women's division, WWE, AEW or TNA? Personally, at the minute, with the call-ups that they just had, I've got to go with WWE. Ken says, just my thoughts. Had the Truth Backlash stayed on Twitter and not the shows, it would not have brought Truth back. Twitter by itself means nothing. Yeah, pretty much. Joey says, what pay-per-view do you think WWE is saving the Becky versus Bayley match for? SummerSlam. I've thought that for a while. I do think we get one more match with Lyra Valkyria, and then we move on to Becky versus Bayley. And I think the Lyra Valkyria match will probably be the Evolution one. Sean says, do you think Naomi could try and cash in on Io or JC? She could. I don't think she's going to. Declan, my latest update on the draft is that it's kind of not happening. WWE have moved on. They're not going to get the SEO boost they were looking for. Kevin says, give me triple threat matches, Punk versus Cena versus Cody at SummerSlam, because let's be honest, do you want another Cena versus Cody Rhodes match? It wasn't great. Calvin says, do you think Triple H doesn't listen to fans because he wants to push who he wants? Yes, that's exactly right. He wants to push who he wants. And ultimately, as the guy who's in charge of creative, that is his right and his job. WWE officials backstage are said to be extremely happy with reactions to Worlds Collide. As a result of this, a talent swap between both rosters is currently being considered temporarily. WWE are intending to loan people, much like as they do with TNA, to AAA. Some of them will be from the main roster and not just from NXT. We're also expecting a number of people to come over from AAA into NXT, at least temporarily, and I don't think these names will surprise anyone, but they've mentioned Octagon Jr., Vikingo, and Mr. Iguana. They've all been mentioned to potentially spend some time in NXT over the next few months, with Mr. Iguana and Octagon Jr. being mentioned as potential main roster wrestlers within the year. As regards Conan, WWE are not so pleased. WWE are trying to keep him sweet for the sake of the deal, and they're paying him a substantial amount, but they're not the happiest with the return on him so far, either on commentary or in fact in creative that he's been pitching so far. WWE not particularly happy with Conan. Aaron says, any idea on creative for Howdy going forwards? I've shared a lot of news on this. Aaron, if you've not followed the YouTube side, pop over to there, search Tom Colohue, Wyatt 6. You'll find a video about the Wyatt 6 essentially being the Avengers in WWE. I detail a lot of what the plans were at that time. It's a lot of detail. I do implore you to check it out. It could be a very different situation now, given the amount of time they've had off, but I know what they wanted to do. And that's about as far as I can go at this point, unfortunately. Hector says, Tom, do you think Triple H is too corporate in his responses during the press conferences and in his general responses? Like R-Truth and not really given the reason WWE moved Mania, he feels robotic at times. Yeah, so there's a couple of reasons for this, but first and foremost, he doesn't want to be there. All he ever wanted was to wrestle. He's very open about this. He's not particularly comfortable with the job role that he actually has. As such, he tries to cut promos, he tries to be tongue-in-cheek, and he tries to never give the game away. Tote says, do you see the Wyatt 6 winning the Tag Team Championship in a few months? Yes, I do. Bailey says, Conan's commentary during Worlds Collide was underwhelming. Reminded me of Jesse Ventura on Saturday Night Main Event, and that's not good. Yes, McCade, it's been mentioned in the chat a few times. WWE's formally announced it, so you can check out the preview there. Sean says, if the Wyatt 6 are the Avengers, then who is Thanos? Not at current displayed, because it took a while for Thanos to get going after all. Declan says, if there's no WWE draft, Becky could go for the United States Championship. Not being a draft doesn't mean there's going to be no brand split. Joey says, do you think Cena will defend the WWE title against Logan Paul at Night of Champs? I don't think so, because as has rightly been pointed out, he's only got about 20 days left, so he's running out rapidly. Ashley says, Tom, do we know when the sale of AAA will be completed? It should be next quarter. Next quarter, I believe it's been mentioned. Ken says, as a lifetime fan, I'm going to be 47 on this birthday. The IWC fan base is very small, though very angry. The mass fan base is much larger. Aaron says, did you see Miz call out the dirt sheets and Meltzer saying no problems in WWE? I did. It was funny, and I give him credit for defending himself. Sid says, Shane McMahon gets asked about rumours that Vince McMahon allegedly wants to buy back WWE. He owns a big part of TKO still, so you never know what's going to happen there. True. He in fact still owns quite a bit of TKO, and thusly WWE. Yes, Joey, nobody's talked about firing anyone. They're just not the happiest with the return so far. Ed says, I have to disagree on Conan. I thought he was fantastic, telling us about AAA talent, which to be fair is exactly what he was there for. And of course you're entitled to disagree. We do not tell anyone off for opinions here. John says, hopefully in those 20 days we get Joe Hendry versus John Cena. Marcel, Good night, mate. Hope you have a good one. You're allowed to be grumpy, Calvin. Don't you worry about it. I'm just not going to read all of it. Psychoside says hello. Hello, Psychoside. And Sean says, speaking of Joe, since he lost the title, do you see him coming to WWE soon? Yes, the plan is very much for him to arrive in WWE soon. SNH, not sure on Roman. All I know is it'll be back in advance of SummerSlam. I don't think it's going to happen tonight. I think we're putting too much into the plan for this one individual match. Bob John says, when is Sheamus versus Rusev planned for? As soon as I've got space. It's not being considered a priority right now, but it will be happening on Raw. As regards Money in the Bank, Seth's story tells itself. Him winning that briefcase seemed like the obvious thing, and it also seemed like the right thing. We'll be moving on when it comes to Jacob Fatu versus Solo Sikoa. That will involve the United States Championship, but we've also got Damian Priest and Drew McIntyre to fit in, so I'm not sure we're going all guns blazing. That said, Tama Tonga has apparently been cleared and will be returning shortly to action. As regards the cash-in tonight, sorry, I'm dropping a pic. Seth Rollins is in a position where he can cash in tonight. A lot of people are expecting Goldberg. A lot of people are expecting Roman. A lot of people are expecting a cash-in. With this in mind, I'm kind of thinking nothing's going to happen. That Jay's going to beat Gunter and we're all going to move on with our lives. But from my angle, what I personally think is going to happen is that Jey Uso is going to defeat Gunter clean, at which point Seth Rollins is going to cash in and win the World Heavyweight Championship. I think Seth versus Roman is a plan for the future, as is CM Punk versus Seth, but I don't think anyone's going to get that gold, at least for now. In fact, I kind of think we'll see Jey Uso come back around for it. Not via the Royal Rumble, maybe via the Chamber. As regards the Intercontinental Championship match, it happened. There's nothing else I can really say. As reviews go, it was a poor match. Octagon Jr. got to show what he could do, but ultimately there was a language barrier. The production team couldn't quite get the two together in the time that they had, and it just wasn't the most welcome match, so they made it very short. The Women's Intercontinental Championship match is earning major plaudits for Lyra Valkyria and for Becky Lynch. The tempo, as I mentioned, was very, very good. The WWE are intending to give Lyra Valkyria plenty to do in the weeks to come, but Bayley is due back shortly in order to take that mantle. Becky Lynch is looking to work with people lower down the card. Lyra Valkyria, she does want one more match, and I do think the segment after with Lyra Valkyria beating down Becky Lynch was very welcome for the character. The main event was very well received. WWE were very happy with how things went, even though I got very bored very early. There are teasers of Logan Paul versus John Cena, but they're trying to ensure that John Cena stays heel, so that's not the plan at the moment. R-Truth's return, WWE were thrilled with that. Particularly excited that that did not get released at all. Literally at all. And now they're releasing everything they can to put it all into context. The actual match itself was very well received. Cody Rhodes was cheered, there were no boos, which made the WWE happy, and Jey Uso looks like a main eventer, which is their entire mission with this World Heavyweight Championship before he loses it. That leaves us then with Naomi winning the briefcase. This was designed to get herself and Jade Cargill firmly into the women's main event. Tiffany Stratton does not have long left with the belt, and I would expect a combination of Naomi and Jade Cargill to be feuding over it in and around SummerSlam time. With that in mind, Jade Cargill versus Tiffany Stratton has been mentioned. I've been mentioning it for a couple of weeks, in fact, as to a particular feud, though Charlotte Flair will have something to say about that. The WWE are currently preparing for a major Jade Cargill-Charlotte Flair program, though this may also take place after Jade Cargill becomes the champion. Whew. Sid says, do you like Vince Russo's opinions on WWE? I don't think I like Vince Russo's opinions on anything. SNH says, Jay's not going to defeat Gunter clean again. I mean, he already did beat him once. Bob John says, CM Punk versus Seth for the 8,000th time. Boo, new feuds are needed for both. Also says, do you think we see Cena versus Truth too? Cena wants it. Hector says, I hope this talent swap with AAA helps benefit some of the Hispanic wrestlers that seem to be just lingering, like Andrade and Santos. Both talents that I loved in NXT, not so much on the main roster. Santos Escobar has been mentioned a number of times in discussions. Psycho says, always watched this, haven't chatted, love the work you do. Thank you, I appreciate you for that. It's very generous of you, and thank you for chatting. Galvin says, will Miz have a co-host for American Gladiators? Oh, I have nothing on that one. Nothing on that one. Ken tracking how much Vince owns of TKO. 4%, apparently not that much. Sean says, Tom, did the Inspiration sign new deals with TNA? They returned it against all odds? Yes, they did. Paul says, do you agree with Jonathan Coachman's belief that Triple H's run as the head of creative in WWE will not last long? No, I don't agree at all. Bismo says, Mr. Socko versus Santino's Cobra versus Mr. Iguana's Puppet Iguana. Book that for SummerSlam. Aaron says, it's been reported by Ringside Roster, Seth versus LA feud. It's obvious with the curb stomp on SmackDown. To be fair, he curb stomped and beat up a lot of people. Harris says, when do you think the Tongans will return and what will they do? I think they've got a side to pick, and I think not too long for Tama. Ashley says, Meltzer claims WWE purposely buried Octagon Jr. by giving him a short match with Dom. That is not the case. There are just limitations, unfortunately. Michael says, there isn't one person I want gone and out of wrestling more than Charlotte Flair. Hey Carl, good to see you, mate. Glad you could make it. And yes, the family are doing well. Hope yours are too. Ryan says, with WWE acquiring so much, do you see 5 men, women from SmackDown, 5 men, women from Raw, 5 men, women from NXT, 5 men, women from TNA, 5 men, women from AAA, and 5 men, women from Evolve? And what is all of this for? What are you saying? What is it am I seeing? I'm confused. Carl says, PWInsider reporting Jade Cargill is set for a huge push, something Tom reported end of last year, start of 2025. What spoiler warning, ladies and gentlemen. I always appreciate your memory, Carl. I appreciate you. SNH said, you think Seth's going to cash in successfully? Yes, I do. Bob John wants to see Penta versus Seth Rollins. And Harris says, do you think Solo will disappear for a month again, or will he show up on SmackDown? We will find out. I don't think he's going to be gone for long. Dominic says, hi Tom, does WWE have big plans for Stephanie Vaca and Roxanne Perez? They both have potential. Thank you. Yes, they do. Quite big plans that are already in play. Joey says, it's kind of annoying how much traction Jonathan Coachman's made-up stories get. Oh, at the Royal Rumble, Ryan? No. Sean says, who do you think dethrones Dominic and Jacob Fatu? At the moment, I honestly think the obvious choices, Finn Balor and Solo. And Declan says, I'd love to see Becky join Seth's group. Aaron, bit too early for me for War Games, though I'm pretty confident, based on what we've seen, that Seth's faction versus a Jacob Fatu-led bloodline would be well worth our time. Mike says, is Bianca's injury serious? As serious as a hand injury can be. And Cal says, Solo's facial expressions killed me on Saturday. You see, now that the pressure's off, Solo Sikoa is starting to get over again. So it's a bit of a dearth of news on this particular show. Got everything I could on R-Truth. Everyone wanted to talk about that. No one really wanted to talk about anything else. So that's actually all we have for today. With this in mind, I'm going to wrap it up there and say a massive thank you to everyone who has joined us. I'll actually read that one out. Hector says, Tom, why do these outlets report news like such and such is getting a huge push? Like if you watch the product and are in the know a little, you could see main eventer in Jade. It was not where, it was when, not if. Because people need those clickbait headlines. I've been Tom Colohue. You've been fantastic, and I'll see you all very soon.